Hello, everyone. I thought I would review a biography for probably my favorite actress, Ida Lupino, who was an actress who was primarily active in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and she was also one of very few female directors working in the 1950s and 60s. And in that regard, she is quite a pioneer. But I've always been drawn to her for some reason. Now, it's hard to know exactly why you're drawn to any specific person, but there's always been an elegant resplendency about Ida Lupino that I've always found to be very refreshing and invigorating. And she did have an interesting life and career. And because she directed many episodes of The Twilight Zone and many episodes of Gilligan's Island and many other things. In fact, at one point, she had directed, according to the book anyway, more episodes than almost any other director, male or female, I think, until the 1990s. So she's very prominent for that reason. And what makes this book in particular very unique is that you get some insights into how Ida felt about her career and directing and many other things. For example, even though she's considered by many film study courses as being a pioneer and a feminist in terms of female directing, and in many ways she was, some of her opinions would not fly well in the modern era. For example, she believed that although more women should be directing films, she also thought that they should direct in a feminine type way, that they shouldn't lose their feminine mystique, and that females shouldn't be bossing men around, and that basically women were encroaching upon a man's world when they directed. And so she was very nuanced in her opinions, and I very much appreciated that. So I felt like I got to know Ida very well in this book. And of course, it was written by her conservator of her estate, a woman who was basically her assistant in the last 10 years or so of her life. So you basically get to know Ida through her eyes. So I thought it was a very interesting biography, and I burned through it in about 3 hours. Now, I've actually owned this book for several years, but before I only read the parts that interested me the most, but I decided today that I would just read the entire thing, and I can read nonfiction typically faster than I can fiction because it doesn't take as much mental effort, and I'm basically absorbing facts. But overall, I thought this was a very good biography. I learned a lot reading it, and I would highly recommend people read it, especially if you're a fan of Ida Lupino.